Give me this life so sweet. 5,000 Tennessee skies. Rebel hearts beating in the summer night's disguise. Curfews, whispers in the dark. Behold our story. It's the Junebug eating that Junebug meat.
Well, good afternoon everyone, and a very warm welcome to a lovely sunny Oschersleben here in Germany for the second round of the GT Summer Series. We had our inaugural round in Hockenheim just over a month ago, and we are delighted to say that we are back, and I am joined by some familiar faces. If you've seen Winter Series coverage, if you've seen Summer Series coverage, you hopefully know by the time now who these two alongside me are. Andy McEwen, Adam Weller, our commentators, join me, myself, Izzy Browning here, ready to talk to the drivers. Boys, we're back, round two, and we're starting to get to know some of our drivers around the paddock now, aren't we? A few familiar faces.
We are, and perhaps more familiar faces than we anticipated based on the full season entry sheet pre-Hockenheim, but then a few drivers are committed now for the full season, which is absolutely fabulous, of course. That means that we have a better title fight and, as you said, some camaraderie as the season goes on as well. But even those that are back from Hockenheim, in some cases, have some new cars, new equipment to work with, and I think the overall picture for today's race looks really compelling. It
certainly does, and we will get on to that, what Adam just said about the new cars, very shortly. But Andy, we're here at Oschersleben, another new track for us. I know Adam's been here before. Lucky Adam, he's done the whole tour of all the circuits. But what are you expecting the racing to be like around here? It's way different to Hockenheim.
Completely different, much lower average speed. It's essentially, and I'm oversimplifying here slightly, long straight into hairpin, into long straight, bit of a chicane. So plenty of places to or at least get alongside each other, but completing a pass is a little bit trickier here. It's not got that sort of flowing sort of feel that certainly the second half of Hockenheim has. It's narrower than Hockenheim. It's going to suit different cars as well than our season opener did. So yeah, an interesting set of races ahead, I think. It's also a slightly shorter track, so traffic could become a bit more of a factor too. So yeah, it's all going to feel a little bit more congested at times, I think, which is good for us. Anytime you get cars sort of tripping over each other is guaranteed entertainment. But for those battling, particularly in the GT4 or Cup 2 classes, they've got to keep an eye out for those quicker GT3 cars behind. They don't have as much space to work with this weekend.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, I am going to let you guys go very, very shortly, but as you can see, we are in the Heroes Arena once again. If you were with us in Hockenheim, you will know that this is the space where we fill up the grid at the beginning of the races, or just before we send them out to the pre-grid. And we've got rather a lot of Porsches this weekend, don't we?
Yeah, well, it's a popular mark here, actually. I was talking to Andy like 2-3 hours ago, and I think you're never more than 20 kilometres away from a Porsche specialist workshop in this country, and this weekend's grid certainly paints that picture, and I think that's going to be the case all through the season. Of course, the V10 Audis are great as well in GT3 and GT4. We've got the Mercedes GT3 car starting a race for the first time this season, which is really good with equipped for tests. But yeah, Porsche's slightly dominating the picture, I grant you.
They certainly are. Right, boys, I am going to let you go off to the commentary box. So see you later. Have a good time, and I will start running you through the grid. So as you can see, we have our front row. The number 45 of Thomas Vestart will start on pole position, and this is our championship leader. Now, if you were with us in Hockenheim, you'll know that he had a very successful weekend, ended the weekend with a win, and comes in to this round now as the championship leader. He's one of the drivers who has confirmed he will be with us for the full season. So we are absolutely delighted to have him. He's not currently here, but alongside him, I can see someone who is here, and that is going to be the driver of this car, the number 7, and that is Hermann Speck. We know who he is because, well, you couldn't have picked a brighter colour for the car, could you?
You're right.
Looking good though, a new car this weekend for you, isn't it? How are you doing?
Actually quite good, but it's still difficult, on a weekend to get to know the car. So the limit is still much higher than what I can do with the car. But, I have the whole season to practice, and next season we're going to be P1.
Absolutely. Well, you might be P1 today. You never know. Anything can happen throughout the course of a race, as you well know. As you mentioned there, You're with us now for the full season. You've decided to stick with us for the full season, which we're absolutely delighted by. Why did you choose to come and do the full season with us?
Well, first of all, I really enjoyed the Hockenheim. You know, everything around is really great. I even like the Heroes Arena. It gives you a sort of, you know, a professional feeling. It's not like with other race series where, you know, you go there, you race, and that's it. You got a nice hospitality, and I'm also looking forward for the barbecue tonight. So, you know, get to know the people, and it's a nice atmosphere. We all know we're amateurs, so we sit together and have a beer afterwards. We try to, you know, to make sure nothing happens. And yeah, that's what I like. And you have cars which are in the same class. Mm-hmm. And with other race series, you know, you're the only GT3 car, and then, you know, you're driving ahead, and it's no fun. So you have good competition, which always gives you that extra sort of motivation to do better. So that's what I like.
Well, we're absolutely delighted that you are going to be here with us, and you rightly say, you know, it is such a nice atmosphere down here in the GT Summer Series paddock. Very best of luck. Enjoy the new car. Enjoy racing in Oschersleben.
Thank you.
You never know, you might get a win. Good luck for the race.
Well, thank you very much.
We shall wait and see, but that is our front row. I'm going to bring you back now and try and show you as many of the cars as possible, because on my right here, starting just behind Herman, will be the number 69 of Urs Frick. Now, he steps up into the Cup 2 class this weekend, because if you were with us in Hockenheim, you will know that he was trying to get his international license, and as a result of Hockenheim, he has managed to do so. So now he is no longer in Cup X, he is now stepping up to Cup 2, and you'll know as well that those Cup 2 battles were pretty spicy in Hockenheim, and we'll certainly hope for more of the same. But in the P3, it's going to be the number 3 car, and that is Mike Janssen. I can see Mike just stepping away, but we will come and grab a chat with you. Well, first of all, great to see you back with us. How much did you enjoy Hockenheim?
Good. It was great. It was fun, and I'm excited of this race.
And how are you finding Oschersleben? I mean, you're ahead of all the others in your class, so obviously doing pretty well at this track.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fine. I find the pace, and I hope a good result of the race.
And you're in the Cup 2 class. I know the two ahead of you are slightly ahead on pace, understandably, but are you going to get in the mix with this fight, or is the goal to just get the Cup 2 win?
Yeah, just Cup 2. Yeah, I think they go around the laps and they go away.
All right, well, we wish you best of luck, and thank you for
thank
speaking to us. So that is going to be Mike Janssen, who will be in this car here, and that is the number 3. I think I've got, yes, just enough time to continue back and show you more of the grid, because we want to show you as many cars as possible. We've got the number 77 on my right of Igor Klyer and Fabian Dibionka. Now, these two are a great pair. As you'll see in a minute, we spoke to them in the Heroes Arena. This Heroes Arena has really been the hub of activity for us. We've got so many challenges going on with the drivers, and as Herman said, what was quite nice is to see so many of the drivers now getting involved in these challenges and being up for it as well. We will definitely continue to put them to the test throughout the season. But yes, the number 77 of Igor Klyer and Fabian Dibionka. I did watch qualifying earlier, and during the qualifying session we saw Matthias Lazowski as well, who was just giving Igor a few tips as well. He is driver coaching for him this weekend, and we will maybe hope to see him driving at some point throughout our season. We will have to wait and see. But then comes another one of the Cup 2s, and this is the 911 of Marco Reinbold. Now, him and Paul Hoschberger, they lead the Cup 2 class. They had a good weekend in Hockenheim. It was actually Marco's birthday that weekend, if you remember, and they will be hoping for more of the same. Right, let's continue down the grid though, because we have a few new entries with us this weekend, and we always like to see new entries. The first of which is this one, the number 50 Equipe Vitesse car of Joseph Kluber. And if we come to the door just quickly, you might recognise a name on the side of the door, and that is Kenneth Heyer. Now, Kenneth is not here with us this weekend, but I've rather joked a lot of the time that we couldn't have a winter series without Kenneth Heyer. Well, now his name is showing up in the summer series as well, and that's because Joseph has raced with him quite a few times. But that is, of course, bringing the Mercedes to our GT Summer Series grid, which, as Adam and I said, said earlier, you know, it's Porsche heavy, but we do have the Mercedes with us this weekend, so that is absolutely fabulous to have him with us. We also have a new entry alongside. You can just see him chatting with the team, the number 5 of Tristan Geschwendtner. So I spoke to him earlier, but it is his racing debut this weekend. So I'm imagining there's a few nerves, just getting a hug from possibly mum before he gets in the car. I will grab one quick word with Tristan. Tristan, I said I was going to ask you earlier, how are the nerves feeling now?
They're good. I'm pretty relaxed, very excited. I think I'm going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, we certainly hope you have a lot of fun. Right, I'll let you continue your preparations. As I said, just one quick word, but I promised him I would ask him if he was feeling more nervous towards the start of the race, because he was very relaxed this morning. But as we come to the back of the grid, we are now in the GT4 class, so we have our GT4 class leaders alongside. Tobias Erdmann is going to be starting that car, and then the very back row of our grid will consist of the number 30 of Alex Dancer and Gökay Kutlu. Gökay, of course, making his racing debut with us last time out in Hockenheim. Great to see him back. And finally, completing our grid, the number 10 of Bertold Grün. So that is our grid down here in the Heroes Arena. We are ready to get this race underway very shortly. But before that, as I said, we were chatting to plenty of our drivers and faces from around the paddock in this Heroes Arena. It really has been the hub of activity. And we've got quite a few interesting interviews to show you. So we will have a look at those, and then afterwards we will hand up to our commentators Andy McEwen and Adam Weller to get the race underway. Okay, well, here at our second round of the GT Summer Series in Oschersleben, it is time once again to catch up with a familiar face. You will have seen him across our Gedlich Racing channels, no doubt, and that is, of course, Head of Operations Stefan Lenner. Stefan, we wanted to catch up again because, of course, it being a new series, we had the inaugural round in Hockenheim, and we wanted to come and have a chat now. How much did you enjoy seeing all that hard work come together in the first round?
Yeah, very much, of course. After all this time that we prepared for it, and finally seeing the first race of the season, of a new series, in a new environment, in terms of racing for us, a new circuit, that was just fantastic.
And from that first round, I mean, there's been good things that have come from it, because there were some people who maybe weren't sure whether they were going to do one round or more rounds, and they've now signed up for the rest of the season. So that must be a really good sign for your team and also the rest of the season.
Yeah, obviously we are very happy about that. We had some, as you said, some teams, some drivers that have not been familiar with us before. They just wanted to come to the first event of the season, see how they like it. And already on Saturday, and then even more on Sunday, several of them approached us already, telling us we have a lot of fun here and we want to continue to do the full season.
Well, we're certainly glad to see them back as well, and we will expect the same over the rest of the season. We come to another track though, and we are here at Oschersleben, a new track certainly for myself and the commentators, having not been here before. What do you expect the racing to be like round here and for the drivers? Because it's going to be trickier to overtake here.
Yeah, so for the drivers, certainly they have to adjust to it. I think we will see a very interesting qualifying. Just as you said, overtaking is pretty hard here. So I think the drivers will focus on the qualifying session, which is up next. And then for the race, I still expect to see some fights for position, of course.
Yeah, we certainly hope so, and we certainly hope that it gives more action than it did in Hockenheim as well, and I'm sure it will do. And this track itself is a bit of a special one for the Gedlich Racing organisation, because Marcus Gedlich, who of course the company is named after, won his DTC championship here 25 years ago. It's quite special now to be in a Gedlich paddock at the same track.
Yeah, of course. I mean, for us, to be honest, this GT Summer Series, it will be special at every event, because for us, we've been to the circuit to organize tests, but it's different if you organize a race. So that is already something special. But of course, taking into consideration the history, I think Marcus will look with a special eye on this weekend.
Yeah, he certainly will do. And you mentioned the rest of the calendar. Of course, we've got Nürburgring up next, then Spa, then back for the season finale at Hockenheim. I know you've got a lot of interest from teams for the back half of the season. What do you expect the second half of the season to look like?
Yeah, I think we will see bigger grids, as you said, and also between the races a bit more different drivers coming and going, so more single event entries than we've seen now at Hockenheim and here in Oschersleben. And of course, I expect that the championship fight will be quite interesting to see how it develops over the next races.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt. And that's what we've always liked about the Gedlich racing paddocks as well. They're very welcoming. We welcome the single round entries as well as those with us for the full season. Now, thank you so much once again for speaking to us. We can't wait to see how the second half of the season pans out, and indeed here this weekend in Oschersleben.
One of the drivers who's decided to join us now for a full season in the GT Summer Series is Hermann Speck, who we welcomed into the paddock at our first ever event in Hockenheim. Hermann,
Thank you.
We're excited to have you again. We're excited that you've got a new car, but obviously maybe not in the circumstances you hoped for.
That's true, but my team was already sort of selling me on a 992R, and I always said, no, my car is fine, And a little accident in Hockenheim sort of, made them push me even harder.
Yes.
So they said, well, if we repair it, it's not going to be like new, we can do it, but. And then I said, but then let's get a new car.
Yeah.
So I got that 992R, and first time out yesterday. Wasn't that easy because I was a bit nervous, didn't know, where the limits of the car were, but it basically drives the same as the old one, just better. So I'm happy, and let's see what we can do today.
And with that, of course, you were at times, certainly on Saturday, one of the closest drivers to Thomas Westup, who comes into this weekend as championship leader. Now that you've got this slightly improved car, you've got maybe a bit more performance to work with. Do you think you're fighting him for victories?
I'm trying, definitely, but he's a very, very good driver. He knows his car in and out, and with the new car, I'm obviously not going to go right to my limits. So I think he has a good chance of winning it, but I make it hard for him.
And now that we have the new car, obviously it's exciting going forward. We'll be back at Hockenheim. Before that, we go to Spa, we go to Nürburgring. Are you now more excited to go to those tracks knowing that you get to try your new toy at them for the first time?
Well, I'm always excited to go on a racetrack, but obviously with a new car, you get better with training, and as more as you drive, as better you get. So yes, I'm very excited, especially Nürburgring. I like the track. I always was fast there, so let's see what I can do with the new car there. So yes, I'm excited.
Yes, now we're here at Oschersleben. I'm very excited to see how you drive in this race with the new car. However, I feel somewhat guilty because before Hockenheim, I did ask you about maybe graduating to a 992, and you told me, no, I don't see the point in doing it. Then you had the bad crash on Sunday. So I feel like since you've had to purchase a new car, I should contribute. This is 1,000 of whatever the Korean currency is.
Okay.
I think it's worth about €8 in Europe. So
Thank
you
you
take
very
that
much.
as the contribution to the new car fund.
Thank you very much. It wasn't quite, the damage wasn't that bad. It looked worse than it was. It was just some outside damage. The car itself, wasn't actually damaged that badly, but it was a good chance, and I always say I learn every day, so I'm not really interested in what I said yesterday.
Well, if you don't win a race this weekend, I want that back, okay?
All right.
Deal.
Thanks. Deal.
This is Hermann Speck. We love him in the paddock, and I'm sure we'll see plenty of him across the weekend here in the GT Summer Series.
Thank you, and I hope it's going to be more successful in Hockenheim.
At Hockenheim, we did the first ever Ravenel Draw the Track challenge. We thought it was a bit of fun. We thought maybe we'd do it once now, once later in the season. But a huge armada of people from the paddock have decided they want to give it a go. Even some of our colleagues from Gedlich Racing, including our one-to-one coaching member here, Roland. So we've got a lot of drivers, and we've got one of our own trying to draw the track. I assume you've done some laps here before?
Yeah, but in the last 2 days.
Oh, not before?
6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's recent enough data. I think you'll do well. We've got a few pens here, and I think we'll colour match. Not quite the same shade of blue, but give us your best attempt at drawing the track. We want your eyes closed, and I will be watching you to make sure your eyes are closed. So you give it a shot, and I'll be watching your eyes. And talk us through it if you can. Okay, we're through turn 1. The hairpin somewhere, he found it. Coming into the second sector of the lap. Okay. Only a couple of corners left. And across the line. I'll be honest with you, it's not a circuit.
Yeah.
However, a lot of the corner profiles are approximately okay. I think we'll offer that maybe a 5 or so out of 10, maybe a 4. We'll see how that goes. Who do we have coming up to join us next? I think we'll have our championship leader as our first driver. Round of applause for our championship leader, please. A brilliant performance last time out in Hockenheim. Now, you've won races before here. Your car is predominantly black, so let's give you the black marker. Okay. And yes, talk us through your process. Keep your eyes closed while you draw, and let's see how you do. The eyes are closed, I can confirm. So far, so good. Onto the back straight we go. 4 corners remain. I don't think that's too big of a clue to give you. Down the main straight. And again, not quite a circuit. You've added some Suzuka to proceedings and a bit of a dogleg. I think this corner would be better if there was a longer straight. So I think what you're actually doing is you're pitching new designs for Oschersleben. What are we saying? I think that could be a 5 rather than a 4. So I think you're leading this 2 at the moment now. Who should we get up next? Fabian Di Bianca. Fabian, we need a round of applause for Fabian too. It's equal stuff. You're doing GT Open this year as well, aren't you? Yes. And your BMW is a blue and yellow cacophony, but we'll do blue as well. Why not? You can share a marker. So again, eyes shut, and let's see what you can do.
Okay, so straight, turn 1.
Yeah.
The long right hander, straight, left corner, straight, triple.
He's using corner names as well, I'm proud.
Right hander.
Yeah.
Fast chicane, right. And
back straight.
That's right, left. Oh, now it's right and right.
It's not bad. It's the closest thing we've had to a full circuit so far. I'll give you that much.
I think it's closest here.
Yes, it's the closest one to a full loop. Some of the perspective is lacking.
A bit too long, for sure.
For some reason, it's reminding me of Watkins Glen in some areas, which is interesting. Maybe it's where you'd like to be. Right, I think, are we going for Igor next? I think we're going to have Igor next, just to do teammate versus teammate, and then I think we've got Herman after that.
What do I have to do?
You have to draw Oschersleben blindfolded, sir. Well, not blindfolded, but eyes closed.
Even if my eyes are open, I don't know the track.
Well, it's going to be funny then, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure I will draw some track. I'm not sure if it is existing.
Well, we could be designing the second FIA circuit in Poland after Tour Poznan.
Let's bring F1 to Poland. Why
Here
not?
we go.
Try to close my eyes and not cheat, yeah?
Close your eyes, no cheating here, and...
But what if it is not enough for the track? Just space.
Again, it's going to be funny.
Okay, give me more chances.
Okay.
I will start from here.
Right, let's go.
Can you do it vertically?
No. You start in 10 seconds or less, or you're disqualified.
Just one line?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Eyes are closed, let's go. You found the marker board, go on. Yeah. And it's clear into turn 1. Oh,
Turn 1.
Yes?
Uh,
Or whichever way you think.
I don't know, I'm just driving. Sorry. Where is this?
Your coach is laughing at you.
Not good.
You've got a lot of space. You're okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, right.
Oh my god.
Nice. I'll be honest, it's still a 1 out of 10, even with that addition.
I love it.
You love it?
Yeah.
Build it for 2030.
I think it's much better like this to drive.
It's got about 42 corners.
Actually, this is my line.
This is your line?
Yeah.
Okay. Track limits violations for car 77, I'm predicting. There we go. 4F, one of our proud partners. There we go. Perfect. Poland, excellent. He's taken this over. Okay. 2028. Okay. Very good. Everyone, Igor Klyer, our star performer, but not maybe for the right reasons. Herman, the man of experience, of knowledge. I reckon that this is your moment to shine.
No, I don't think so.
You reckon? I need to get your sunglasses off to see that your eyes are closed. I'm sorry. I'll hold that for you if you like. No? Okay. Here we go. Herman Speck takes on Oschersleben. I'm impressed so far.
Okay.
In terms of corner profile, I think Herman has done well in terms of corner profile there.
Okay.
It's just that the route has gone a bit skew.
Driving.
I heard horrible rumours about gravel in the car, but I don't think they're true. Right, so this was our first attempt here from our coach. We had a few other runs, but I think that potentially this was our best attempt of anybody, and that was our championship leader, Thomas Vestarp. So I think our championship leader over there, Thomas, is not only the fastest driver from Hockenheim, but also the best drawer here at Oschersleben. Let's see how many races he can win. We're going to go racing, of course, for 3 times here this weekend at Oschersleben. Maybe in 2028 we take on the 4F ring, but we'll see. Let's keep posted on that development project.
Well, that was the scene down in the Heroes Arena over the last few hours or so. We've been having a lot of fun down there, Andy McEwen. It's been quite a blast. But now things are getting serious. We are getting ready to go racing here with the GT Summer Series. Race 1 of 3 for this weekend. And looking at that front row of the grid, interesting things. We've got Thomas Vestarp there on pole position. And perhaps given some of his experience here previously, I'm not too surprised to see him up at the front. But then you've got that X factor coming in, that is Herman Speck aboard his new Porsche, and I think that's going to be a really compelling extra ingredient for this weekend.
Most definitely, because generally speaking, as drivers spend more and more time in a new car, they tend to get quicker. Well, he was within a second, nearly, of Vestarp's pace in qualifying around quite a technically demanding circuit. And so he, hopefully, as we move through the 3 races and he gets a bit more mileage under his belt, should be able to find a little bit more speed. Vestarp, though, will be tough to beat, most definitely. The Audi mid-engine, that's a good combination for a technical circuit like this, certainly through the second half when you get quite a lot of quick changes of direction. And Adam, you and I sat and watched qualifying trackside earlier on this afternoon, and he really looked on it. The car looked planted, he was hitting his marks, he looked confident out there, and so Thomas Vestarp will be tough to beat, I think, looking to continue where he left off, of course, with a victory in the 3rd race last time at Hockenheim.
That is the case, yes. Comes in as our championship leader. Of course, the overall championship contested among all classes, and Cup 2 appears to be one of the highlights this time around, in this season of the Summer Series so far. We've again got that creamy middle part of the grid where we are awash with Porsche 992 GT3 Cup cars, and I think of particular interest now is the addition of Urs Frick, having been in GTX last time out, running to national license requirements, which means over 3 kilos per horsepower, so they had to put some ballast in it, they had to take some power out of the engine by way of air restrictor. He's now running the 992 GT3 Cup in the manner intended, and with that we now have a car that will be challenging, and indeed is challenging on row 2 of the grid, his SA Performance teammate in Mike Janza.
Yeah, only, a quarter of a second less than that between the two of them in qualifying, and so Mike Janza and Urs Frick, I expect to have a pretty tasty battle, and in fact Marco Reinbold is only a couple of tenths back, with Igor Klar another couple of tenths back from him, so 6 tenths cover those 4 Cup 2 cars that you mentioned right in the middle of the field. Cup 2, we see this year after year in Winter Series. We saw it last time out at Hockenheim in the first ever Summer Series event. Cup 2 is often where it's at. If you want absolute bumper-to-bumper, nose-to-tail racing, we saw plenty of changing of positions in that class in the 3 races at Hockenheim. And I would expect nothing less, not only this weekend, but as we move through the rest of the season, hopefully more Cup 2 cars entering later on in the year as well. It certainly is a hugely competitive class. And I think this weekend we're going to see more and more really good racing. And Urs Frick wanting now to prove himself, I think, in that car. Now it's fully unleashed, and so far so good.
And we are now releasing the cars from the Heroes Arena out onto the circuit. They will do a single formation lap, and then it'll be a 2x2 rolling start to get this race underway. For the first time this season, we are joining the ADAC Racing Weekend package, and that's going to be the case now for the remainder of the 2026 season, so quite a hotbed of exciting German national categories joining us here in the GT Summer Series for the rest of the year. Round 2 of the season here at Oschersleben. Dramatically different circuit, a fair lick narrower as well in quite a lot of the lap than Hockenheim, and much lower average speed, as you alluded to, Andy, at the top of the broadcast. I think that later on in this race, it's going to be very interesting to see what effect traffic has here. I think that the outright pace of the GT3 cars at the front might not be the entire story.
No, definitely not, because if you catch a lapped car, certainly through that middle part of the lap, it's going to be difficult to get past them unless they really veer out of your way, which of course they don't have to do. They're not allowed to actively get in the way of the faster cars, but they're not expected to necessarily put the indicator on and move out to one side of the track. So that will be a little bit tricky. We can see here what you're talking about. It is narrow, it's a winding circuit, lots of big braking zones in the first half of the lap in particular though, and so that does yield a couple of overtaking opportunities, and then the speed builds through the second half. It is really a circuit of 2 halves here. It's lower average speed in the first part of the lap, and then it's quicker, easier to make a mistake. Momentum is more significant, and if you do start dipping wheels over curbs, that could yield an opportunity for those behind, particularly in a close class like Cup 2. You only have to put 1 wheel on the dirt and you could lose 2 or 3 positions.
I think it's a bit of a treat, this circuit. If you like a bold overtake, if an overtake does happen in a battle, it tends to be a pretty ambitious one, so it's a lot of fun to see what moves are made. Let's run through the grid then quickly. Thomas Vestarp starting on pole position alongside Hermann Speck, both cars in GT3 and the CCS Racing Team Audi of Vestarp. DB Motorsport's new Porsche 992 GT3R of Hermann Speck also on the front row. It's an all SA Performance Cup 2 Porsche row 2 with Mike Janza and Urs Frick. Row 3, Marco Reinbold joined by Igor Klyer. Row 4 of the grid, 7th and 8th place, Equip Vitesse's GT3 AM entry for Josef Kluber. Good to have him and indeed Equip Vitesse on the grid for the first time. GT4 Pro entry for Frederick Zebis of WNS Motorsport. The GT4 AM pole is with Tobias Erdmann of Seyfarth Motorsport. Tristan Geschwendner, the debutant of East Racing Motorsport, lines up alongside him. Back row of the grid, Alexander Danza of WNS Motorsport, and Bertold Grun, of course, racing for his eponymous Grun team in the Audi R8 LMS GT3 Evo 2. It's his local circuit, at least his closest circuit. It's still a fair lick down the motorway. Let's see what he can do. We're in 2x2 formation. They are driving through the grid slots. We are about to be underway here in the GT Summer Series. Round 2 of the season kicks off now. We are racing in Oschersleben, and it's a really good start from Thomas Westarp. We've got one of the SA Performance Porsches there grass tracking on the run down to the first corner, but it's Westarp in the lead. The Porsche of Hermann Speck in second place, and I think that was Janza, was it, being off the circuit? No, it was Urs Frick who was off the circuit on the run down to the first corner. He's dropped behind the XR Racing Porsche of Marco Reinbold, so it's Mike Janza in third overall, leading the Cup 2 class. GT4 Pro leader and overall GT4 leader is, of course, Fredrik Zebis, and the GT4 AM leading car is the Audi there in the back of shot, Tobias Erdmann. But interesting that Igor Klyer has found himself behind Fredrik Zebis, and I wonder if Fredrik wants to have a little bit of a play. He's the only car in the GT4 Pro class, and he's entitled to get his elbows out if he so chooses.
Yes, and he's certainly not moving aside for Igor Klyer, who had a bad run through the first corner and has lost that crucial track position to the rest of the Cup 2 contenders, so he won't be thrilled with that. Tell you what, Hermann Speck was actually better off the start, I thought, than Thomas Westarp. Actually had his nose ahead in the Porsche on the outside line into turn 1, but Westarp carried the speed through the first corner, got the lead away, but he's not dropping Hermann Speck at the moment, so it's only less than a second, I would say, between the top 2 cars as we come around towards the completion of lap 1. Then we get the Cup 2 battle. There, though, are the leaders, and that is not the sort of margin I expected Westarp to have after one racing lap.
No, interesting, isn't it? In qualifying 2, it was actually a fairly significant pace difference between Westarp and Speck, but in Q1, which of course determined this grid, they were less than a second apart in terms of lap time, and that's what we're seeing now as well here in this race, at least in the early stages. It certainly is Hermann Speck staying fairly close behind, and that is very compelling stuff. Can Hermann aboard this new car, which he won't thank me for telling you, did have a little visit to the gravel this morning, so he hasn't had all of the track time he was necessarily hoping for, but he is pushing hard and he's pushing well. We shouldn't be surprised, of course, because he's been racing Porsches for the fat end of 3 decades.
Yes, exactly so, and as I said, we'll get to grips with that car with every lap that he turns this weekend, so this is a promising start. In fact, I'd say he's closing on Westarp slightly on this second lap from the glimpse we just saw. I noticed as well that Klyer did get past the GT4 Porsche of Maximilian Schreier, who is still the best of the GT4 spec cars at the moment.
Yes, I think it did say Zebis on the timing briefly, but yes, now Maximilian Schreier is confirmed in the car, and as Izzy's pointed out to us from downstairs, it's also he was in the Q1 session, so that makes all the sense in the world. We were watching Q1 and I still didn't pick up on that. Westarp and Speck running across the line once again, and the gap has remained pretty consistent there. Hermann Speck holding on to the back of Thomas Westarp in the early stages, but he pushes it a bit too far there at turn 1. He was quite wide at the apex and had to spread out or run out slightly wider than Westarp ahead of him, and while he didn't lose much time as a result of that, if he asks more of the tyre through turn 1 lap after lap after lap, he's going to struggle a bit more on the front axle as the race goes on. It does look to me like that gap has gone out by a couple of tenths through the first sector.
Yeah, I was noticing that in qualifying, actually. That's where we were watching from on the approach to turn 1, and that is where Westarp looked really committed. He was turning into turn 1 nice and early, the car was gripping, he was using all of the inside curb, and as a result carrying better speed into turn 2, whereas others like Hermann Speck were a little less consistent in that regard, and we just saw that there at the beginning of the third racing lap, about half a second gained by Westarp in sector 1 alone. There goes Igor Klyer clobbering the curbs through the chicane, whilst behind Maximilian Schreier still has his hands full of, in theory, quicker cars, with Josef Kluber's Mercedes now starting to close in.
Yeah, Kluber struggling a little bit, I think, for outright pace in the qualifying session, and would certainly like to get past the Cayman as soon as possible. But of course, we here at Gedlich Racing have seen a majority of Schreier's early steps. He made his racing debut in cars with us in the 2025 GT4 Winter Series. Of course, he's been focusing on GT4 all through his car racing career so far. We saw him back again for a couple of rounds in the Winter Series at the start of 2026, start of this year, and good to see him in the Summer Series for the first time. but as much as he is outperforming the car, he is doing exactly what we expect him to do as a driver.
Indeed so. Meanwhile, here come Danza and Geschwendner down towards the first corner. Tristan Geschwendner in his first race, and we were teeing this up at Hockenheim, weren't we? He was really looking forward to getting out there on track for the first time and getting stuck straight into a battle here with Alexander Danza. As ahead, the Mercedes now of Kluber has found a way past the leading GT4 spec car in the hands of Maximilian Schreier. So interesting to see now what pace Kluber's got once he starts to get going. He did out-qualify all of the GT4 cars, but he got boxed out a bit through the first couple of corners and lost a bit of track position early doors as a result. In Cup 2, it remains Mike Janza leading the way. I was intrigued to see what Igor Kleyer's pace was like in clean air. Not as quick as the cars ahead of him, interestingly. So Igor Kleyer, who we're used to seeing a front runner in Cup 2 in Gedlich Racing circles in Winter Series and at Hockenheim, struggling a little bit in this first race of the weekend.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he can maybe find something later in the race. Of course, in the early stages, he was stuck behind Schreier in the GT4 leading car. Kluber there having a little bit of a twitch coming out of turn 12 of the lap, and is that the sign that something's maybe not quite right, or was it just a slightly strange approach for the corner? Obviously, he's got the power advantage with the 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8 in GT3 specification. So now down the main straight, off he goes. See you later, Maxi boy. But wait until maybe the triple apex around 4 corners into the lap, and Maximilian Schreier will be right back with him.
Yeah, it does look like Schreier has a lot more confidence in his equipment right now, doesn't he? Carries the speed nicely into this 270-degree second turn. It's quite unique in that respect, I would say. Used to be even tighter, of course, before they reprofiled that first turn a number of years ago. You carry a lot more speed into that corner now. And then we accelerate down the short chute towards that triple apex left-hander. They are being caught, definitely, by Tobias Erdmann, I would say, behind. Erdmann did a 32.1, which was 1.2 seconds quicker than Schreier on the previous lap. But Schreier, I would argue, is being held up by Kluber ahead, and that is bringing the GT4 AM leading car onto the tail of Schreier. So remember, they don't run in the same class, the Porsche and the Audi, but they are built to the same specification, the same regulations. And again, Schreier gets bottled in behind Kluber's Mercedes. That bronze Audi is starting to loom larger and larger in his mirrors as a result. But Schreier's in such a difficult position. He would love to get past Kluber, but even if he does, it won't last long. We know the Mercedes has the power advantage. So he's sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place here, Schreier.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, running in GT4 Pro means that they are running a little bit of extra ballast, and I think a slightly larger restrictor on that GT4 Cayman as well. So the BOPs change from class to class in the GT Summer Series. So while that Audi R8 does have more power to work with, a bit less weight versus the standard BOP to work with than the Porsche ahead, it's still very impressive that Erdmann here is able to keep pace so well. Of course, they're double dipping this weekend because they have a second Audi R8 GT4 in the paddock, and they're using that to race in the kind of Oschersleben home championship known as NATC. So they're getting a lot of track time this weekend. I wonder if fatigue may be an issue with that strategy, but right now I think the track time is paying off.
Yeah, and Schreier's really struggling. You can see the weight actually taking effect on the yellow and black Porsche. He's really backing the car into the corners, trying to carry as much momentum into the turns as he can, because it's not going to accelerate as well off the turns as he would be used to. So maybe a little bit of overdriving creeping in here for Maximilian, and so Tobias Erdmann is starting to really range up behind the Porsche. They've both dropped away from Kluber on this lap though, so Josef at least is finding a little bit more speed. That's good news for Schreier, but the fact that that car is sliding around quite a bit at this early stage of the race is less positive news.
And good showing out as well from Alexander Danza. He's not a million miles back from them in the second of the WNS Motorsport Porsches that we see there in the back of shot. Danza, who of course we alluded to returning to racing after a near 2-decade absence in the GT4 Win Series a couple of years ago. He's not done much racing since then, but he's going full season along with Gökay Kutlu here in the Summer Series GT4 AM class. And of course, if Max Schreier starts fighting with Tobias Erdmann, that could bring Danza in to sweep that GT4 AM lead away.
Yeah, Danza's last lap was quicker than Schreier by a tenth or so, and so to your point, if Schreier now has to start actively defending from the Audi behind him, that's going to slow them down even further. The gap is just under 3 seconds between Erdmann on your screen, number 27, and number 30 of Danza behind, wide for Schreier again. To my point, I think he's losing the tyres already slightly on that Cayman, or certainly is carrying a bit too much speed into some of the turns. And this is music to the ears of Tobias Erdmann, who would love to be the leading GT4 car in the race, even if it isn't actually for class position. He's already on course for a GT4 round win. But yes, if Danza starts to close in, that's all the more motivation for Erdmann to have a go here.
Absolutely right. Just to cover the front end of the field, Thomas Westarp 4.4 seconds clear of Hermann Speck. That's been going out to half a second, 3/4 of a second per lap. So Hermann Speck starting to struggle a little bit. Well, not really, actually. It's more that Thomas Westarp is going quicker and quicker. Hermann's last lap was actually his best of the race. However, Thomas Westarp is knocking on the door of 1 minute 25s, whereas Hermann Speck has just done a 1:26.5, exactly on the money, actually, 0.500. Down the main straight they go once again then in this GT4 battle. The Audi R8's V10 will be breathing a little bit freer than the Porsche up ahead. Not much difference between them in a straight line, of course. The Porsche traditionally quite a strong car in a straight line when they're all running to the same BOP. And I just saw as well that Tristan Geschwendner is in the pit lane, just actually exiting the pits as we saw there, but an unscheduled visit down pit road for the youngster in his racing debut.
Yeah, he's been there for a couple of laps as well, so I think there was obviously an issue. He wouldn't have done that just to have a chat with the team. Wide for Schreier again there at the hairpin at turn 3. Does that give the opportunity for Tobias Erdmann? Not down the next straight, it doesn't, but these little mistakes creeping in. It is one of those circuits, though, and that's one of those corners where you can take a few different lines. A lot of these corners are very long, sweeping, low-speed hairpins, and so you can either go in for the early apex or wide and cut back to a late apex. I do notice that Schreier likes the curb through the flip-flop chicane, doesn't he? He's certainly driving with a little bit less mechanical sympathy than Erdmann, but you can see why, because that gained him half a second or so through one section of track alone.
Yes, and in fact, to that point, you can see the on the front of the Caymans, there's a little dive plane on each corner of the front bumper. They shed both of those dive planes over the course of free practice and qualifying today. They didn't bother putting it back on because they had a feeling, and indeed, by the time qualifying had ended, there was no dive planes at all on that number 31 Porsche because of their approach to the chicane. So the car is not necessarily loving their approach to that corner, but as you said, it's effective.
It is, whoops, that is Kluber, who's gone straight on at turn 1 in the Mercedes. He was just starting to build a gap to those two cars, but will now have to catch and pass them again. Oh, good, there's Maximilian Schreier, who was rather hoping he'd seen the last of that Mercedes, but anyway, a little error there. Easy to carry too much speed into that first corner, and yeah, it looks as though Josef Kluber has overdone things somewhat. As again, our GT4 battle heads towards the middle part of the lap. That chicane, incidentally, was a big talking point in the driver's briefing, or actually the team manager's briefing yesterday afternoon. There are the plastic floppy markers on the inside of the left-hand element of the chicane. We'll see it on this next shot. You are not allowed to touch the first of those marker posts. So you can use that curve, but those red markers, the plastic markers, if a wheel touches that marker, you will be deemed to have exceeded track limits. Of course, one very smart team manager immediately then said, well, what if someone knocks the first one over? Does that mean we move over to the second? The answer was a very firm no.
That was something that happened at the DTM in Le Mans in 2006. They were running that exact system, and indeed, once the markers started falling, suddenly they were straight lining the chicane. So someone was paying attention in the driver's briefing. A bit of a wide moment there from Max Schreier, just trying to carry a little bit of extra speed here. He's feeling the pressure undoubtedly from Tobias Erdmann, and this is a great proof of concept for these different BOP systems. GT4 Pro driver in the form of Max Maximilian Schreier, who is a pro's pro. He was a great young karter, and we're now seeing him in the midst of his GT racing tenure doing some great things. Top 10 finishes to start the year in the ADAC GT4 Germany a few weeks ago at the Red Bull Ring. Meanwhile, we find Thomas Vesterp out on track. He laps Geschwendner for the first time on the road, but of course Tristan has already been the recipient of a pit stop, unfortunately, so he now is 3 laps off the race leader on the timing screen, and he'll have Hermann Speck just behind. Hermann with a 1:26.907 last time. He's starting to ease off his ultimate pace right now. I think he'll be hoping against hope that Vesterp passed a bit too much too early of his car, but of course in the early stages I think if anything Vesterp was being a little bit cautious, so I think Hermann Speck now is just seeing what he can do with that new car that he's purchased, an ex-Herbert Motorsport Porsche 992 GT3R. Berthold Grun, meanwhile, is being lapped here by Marco Reinbold. So Grun already a lap down on the leading cars, and that was Reinbold making his way through the Cup 2 leader, currently only 2.5 seconds back from Mike Jansen. Well, it was 2.5 at the start of the lap. It looks more like 4 seconds actually now as they head towards the triple, and that may have been Berthold Grun just slightly tripping up Reinbold aboard the number 911.
Yes, indeed so. So the Cup 2 field actually quite well spread out, which is not what we're used to seeing, as there's a bit of a fumble there maybe through the right-hander for Urs Frick, that wasn't it, who took a wheel to the dirt on the inside. We've had a track limits warning, first of the race, for Tobias Erdmann, who we can see is still following in the wheel tracks of Maximilian Schreier, so the number 27 driver being warned about track limits, potentially up at the chicane. It may have been elsewhere that he's been caught going beyond track limits, which of course are a little bit more liberal here than we're used to seeing back in the UK, but there are still limits as to how much of the surrounding area you're allowed to drive over. And yeah, he's been pinged for that. No penalty yet, but a warning, and if he does it again, then 5 seconds, I suspect, could be added to the race time. Through the flip-flop chicane they head, and then the final right-hander, which comes over a crest, easy actually to understeer wide off the edge of the road there, and again go beyond the limits of what you're allowed to utilise. But these two both keeping it within the white lines for now.
Yeah, these two cars actually are among the 3 that have so far received warnings for track limits. Schreier is on 2 warnings at the moment, so he's going to be careful. Tobias Erdmann has used just 1, as has Igor Klyer in the Cup 2 class. So I think Max does have to be a little bit cautious here. With 13 minutes left on the clock, once you start getting 3 and over, that's when you start to get called up for some penalties and potentially some stern words after the race.
Yes, definitely so. I had a feeling that might be a bit of a talking point. Wasn't massively so at Hockenheim, was it, interestingly? But yeah, there are a couple of places here where drivers clearly are going beyond the boundaries of what's acceptable. There's the race leader, Thomas Vesterp, 6.4 seconds his lead now over Hermann Speck, who, as if to prove my point, has just done his personal best lap of the race on lap number 12. So still finding pace in the Porsche, even quite deep into the race. We're into the second half of this 30-minute race now, and Hermann Speck still getting quicker, still slower than the leader, but to my point, he is going to get faster, I think, as the weekend goes on, and we're about to see the leaders really now start to deal with the traffic. So this was one of the talking points we had pre-race, Adam, with the GT4 cars now and a couple of slower GT3s looming on the horizon. That could start costing people quite big chunks of time if they get it wrong.
No, exactly right. It's a bit of a perilous situation as the race leader always, isn't it? Being the first to forge that path through the field, and he's got 4 cars to contend with, Thomas Vesterp, in the next probably 2 to 3 minutes, 1 to 2 laps of the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben, so he's going to be on his toes. Of course, that CCS Racing Audi, he's very familiar with that car, notably more familiar than Hermann Speck is with his new Porsche that was only delivered, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and I don't think it was run before coming here to Oschersleben, so Vesterp with the advantage. And in fact, last year here at Oschersleben, in another series, Thomas Vesterp had a great race with our own Kenneth Heyer, who of course we know from the GT Winter Series, current reigning champion in the GT the Winter Series, and on that day Verstappen actually got the better of Kenneth Heyer, and seems to like this place. He seemed more confident here than he did potentially at Hockenheim that he was going to lead from the front, and we are seeing him do so at the moment. He's dispatched some of that lap traffic, but as you alluded to, Andy, the next minute or so is going to be quite fraught, I suspect.
Definitely so, and he was only a couple of tenths quicker than Hermann Speck on the previous lap as well. Again, traffic I'm sure would have had something to do with that, but Hermann Speck keeping him at 6 seconds or so ahead of him. So there is the leader, Thomas Verstappen, who's negotiated Josef Kluber's GT3 Mercedes, which runs in the same class, GT3 AM, but yeah, a little bit off the pace of the leading two cars. Now towards the end of this, the 14th lap we head, and we are at 2/3 race distance already, so 20 minutes have gone, 10 minutes to go. Verstappen, if he said before this race he enjoyed racing at Oschersleben, I'd say he's definitely going to be enjoying himself even more now if he can get himself another race win. Funny how certain drivers seem to really gel with this place. It's, you know, not to the eye one of the most challenging circuits out there. You know, it doesn't have any of those dramatic elevation change or super high-speed corners, but it really does suit a certain kind of driving. You've got to be very technically adept, I think, to get a good lap time out of this place. Very precise with your lines, and that's something we're seeing from Verstappen this weekend.
Yeah, there's a lot of circuits that require more commitment, but as you said, from a technical perspective, you've really got to know to go quickly around this circuit at the very least, rather than just keep the thing on the track. You've got to be able to have quite a deft touch to be able to use enough traction control to keep the car in check without using so much that you start to slow yourself down. Thomas Verstappen has now cleared that GT4 leading battle, so Schreier, the GT4 Pro leader, is now a lap down. Tobias Erdmann just behind, and I think thankfully for Schreier, and perhaps not so happily for Tobias Erdmann, there was no delay there for the Cayman as the Audi went by. Tobias Erdmann, incidentally, I always talk about car specs, it's one of the many things I do. Worth noting and remembering that is a pre-Evo Audi R8 LMS GT4, which I don't think has been the current spec for 4 years. I think 2022 certainly is when they introduced the most recent Audi Evo for GT3, but GT4 I think the same, 2022. So the car is, you know, a few years out of commission versus Max Schreier's WNS Motorsport Porsche. Granted, Max has a lot of ballast in his passenger seat right now, and no, it's not because I'm in the car, don't think things like that. You know, all the same, Erdmann is going for it, and there he is now, just being put a lap down by Hermann Speck. Speck with the lights ablaze, meaning some business, and he'll be hoping for a nice clear run through the traffic as well.
Gained a couple of tenths on the leader, in fact, on the opening, on the previous lap, but again, we sort of know why. It's a bit of drama somewhere for Igor Klyer. He is back up to speed now. His previous lap was a 1:45 as Hermann Speck nips up the inside of Maximilian Schreier. Previous lap for Klyer, a 1:45, which was about 15 or 16 seconds off the pace. So I think Klyer's been off the road somewhere. He's dropped now to 17 seconds behind Urs Frick, who is 4 seconds behind Marco Reinbold, who we were focusing on a moment or two ago. That's when I noticed that Klyer had slipped even further adrift of the other Cup 2 runners. Reinbold's pace is similar but a bit slower than Mike Janser, who continues to lead the Porsche 992 GT3 Cup class, as Hermann Speck pedals the new to him Porsche 992 GT3R up through the chicane. And yeah, very impressed with Hermann Speck. Got a good start, stuck with Thomas Verstappen, will have learnt quite a bit, I suspect, from the handful of laps that he was directly following the race leader. And even now, 2/3 through the race, he is more or less matching the pace of the leading driver, who we know from Hockenheim is a formidable opponent. And I do think Hermann is rather enjoying his new toy, and probably quite grateful that he made the decision to go and get one for this weekend.
I'm even more impressed, frankly, with this man, Mike Janser, Cup 2 class leader, just his 4th ever weekend of racing. Granted, it's his 2nd weekend here at Oschersleben. He did a round of another championship a little bit earlier in the season in March, when the temperatures were quite a lot different. He's noticing the differences with driving the car in the hot conditions we have here this weekend, but he's doing an absolutely fantastic job there. A few seconds clear, almost 5 seconds clear of Marco Reinbold, who granted has driven a cacophony of different cars, not so much 992 GT3 Cup experience, but he's driven GT4s, he's even driven GT3s, he's got a lot more racing miles than Mike Janza, and Janza is doing a really fabulous job, and that's before we get into the car behind this 911, and that's Urs Frick in 5th place overall and 3rd in the Cup 2 class, who's in just his 2nd weekend, his 1st weekend of racing, of course coming with us at Hockenheim in the GT Summer Series.
Yeah, some interesting stories within the Cup 2 field. Remember, it was Reinbold who won 2 races in the class at Hockenheim, whilst Mike Janza was able to win the class in race number 3, but Reinbold the better placed of the 2 in the championship coming into this weekend, and 2nd overall in the championship actually. We have separate class championships and then an overall championship table as well. Thomas Vestarp leading the outright championship after round 1, but Reinbold top of Cup 2, so yeah, interesting to see that starting to change. He was only 2 points ahead of Janza actually, so by my rough calculations there'll be next to nothing, in fact perhaps absolutely nothing between them after this first race of the weekend.
Yeah, that's exactly the case. It will be tied at the top in Cup 2 if the checkered flag flies now. A bit of a wide moment there from Urs Frick as he came up on the back of Tristan Geschwendner's East Racing Motorsport Porsche. Of course, East Racing, a team that we're familiar with from the GT4 Winter Series, but also the endless summer events that Gedlich Racing put on down in the Iberian Peninsula over the winter. And indeed, that's where Geschwendner did a lot of his preparation here for this first weekend as a racing driver. He didn't race with us previously at Hockenheim because, well, he wasn't old enough to do that yet. He's now had his 16th birthday. He's ready to go racing, and those miles and those lessons learned from his trip to Iberia at the start of the year seemingly paying off fairly well based on his qualifying performance. A shame that he was in the pits earlier on in this first race, but we'll see how he performs going forward in this weekend. A little bit of Audi on Audi going on here as Berthold Gruen in the GT3 Audi is set to get lapped by Tobias Erdmann in the GT4 Audi, which isn't necessarily the script you would anticipate for that situation, but again, Erdmann setting quite a scorching pace out here on the circuit, and indeed he's ahead of 2 of the GT3 cars, of course, on the timing screen since Josef Kluber had that off-track moment a few laps ago.
Yeah, and Kluber never really was able to bounce back from that, was he? He's still a couple of seconds behind Erdmann, and I don't know whether maybe he's battling some sort of an issue with the brakes potentially in the Mercedes AMG, but yeah, definitely not quite got the pace at this stage of the race. I'm also intrigued at the fact that Maximilian Schreier has gapped Tobias Erdmann again now. It would look to all the world as if it was Schreier who was asking the most of his car and his tyres and his brakes and everything else in the first half of the race. I would have put money on him then losing pace in the second half, but it's not what's happened, and he had pulled a gap at the end of the previous lap of about 2.5 seconds or so over Tobias Erdmann's Audi behind, as Thomas Vestarp's Audi comes towards the conclusion of its 19th lap of the race.
Of course, Thomas Vestarp at the moment is doing something to give me some money based on our little pre-event interview with Hermann Speck, of course, where I gave him 1,000 of South Korea's finest currency, which is about €8.
Wow. Nice stakes.
Yes, indeed. Well, I get the 1,000. I can't remember the South Korean currency, but I get 1,000 of whatever it is back if Hermann doesn't win a race this weekend. So Thomas Vestarp is currently doing me some favours. They were almost equal in pace on the previous lap, actually, just a few hundredths of a second apart. Hermann Speck marginally faster with a 126.814 versus a 126.852 for Thomas Vestarp. So good solid pace here from Hermann Speck, and I think it's quite easy when you jump into a new car and have to learn some of its finer details. Certainly the 992 has a different traction control, different ABS than the 991.2, so there is a significant difference. And the fact that Hermann's been fairly consistent is well, it speaks to his experience in racing generally and in Porsches specifically, that he's lapping consistently, metronomically, rather than, oh, he's gone wide that lap, oh, he's struggling a bit there. He's just doing everything right.
Absolutely so, and yeah, absolutely, the cars look identical, more or less, to the untrained eye. There are subtle differences, as you were talking about to us earlier on in the day, Adam. I'm sure you'll educate everyone on that over the course of the weekend. But to the untrained eye, they're very similar looking cars, but things like the traction control, that will make a big difference around a circuit like this. With all of these low-speed corners and acceleration zones out of them, you've got to have that traction control where you want it to be. Of course, a pro driver will pretty much turn it almost all the way off, but for the gentleman drivers, the AM drivers, finding the right balance between speed and comfort is not easy to do, and even at this point of a weekend, I suspect Herman is still making minute adjustments to things like that, and it will all be different in this car compared to his originals. So yeah, mightily impressed.
And that's something I've been speaking about a couple of times with Frank Beaver as well, the difference between developing a car for customer racing versus something for all pro driving. It's two very different development paths. You've not only got to get speed out of the car, but you've also got to make them somewhat user-friendly, and that's the big difference between GT3 versus some of what's come before in GT racing. We're on the final lap of the race. Thomas Verstappen will be seeing the checkered flag this time by, as long as he can do this last half a lap of the race. Clock ticking down to within the last 10 seconds as we speak. So Thomas Verstappen is on his route home.
Yes, he is. Heads towards the final few corners. The clock ticks down to 0. He'll see a little speck in the distance, which is the yellow and black Porsche of Herman, who is still only about 6.5 seconds back. That gap really hasn't changed much in the final few laps, has it?
No, it hasn't. It's been fairly equidistant. Unfortunately, though, Herman Speck not quite finding that ultimate speed early in the race, and that's given Thomas Verstappen a nice luxurious cushion at the front of the field, and he takes his second overall win of the season in the GT Summer Series, and his first of the weekend here at Oschersleben. Herman Speck takes second place on his first drive in the Porsche 992 GT3R. Just a showcase of different manufacturers, why not? We do have a lot of Porsches, as Izzy told us, down on the pre-grid. Mike Janza, speaking of Porsches, will win the all Porsche Cup 2 class, the 992 GT3 Cup category, so long as he can get to the flag. We're expecting him across the line to take third overall in his SA Performance entered car. He's been really impressing me this weekend. I heard him talking to some of the team, trying to get the best out of the car. Maximilian Schreier crosses the line to take the GT4 class honours. He wins that GT4 Pro category by dint of being the only car, but he's also the first GT4 of any description to take the checkered flag ahead of Tobias Erdmann. He'll be happy with that, I'm quite sure. Now, we've had Josef Kluber go missing on the last lap. He's yet to cross the line. I think he may have had a problem somewhere out there on the circuit. We just saw Mike Janza, Marco Reinbold and Urs Frick cross the line. That's our top three in the Cup 2 division, but I wonder where Josef Kluber has gone. He's just made his way into the pit lane, and unfortunately, he's lost out on the last lap there. He's dropped a position to Alexander Danza of W&S Motorsport aboard the number 30 car, but something at the end of the race seemingly not adding up, not working out quite so well for our number 50 car, the Equip Vitesse entered Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo, but things could not have gone better for Thomas Verstappen, the CCS Racing Team Audi R8 LMS GT3 Evo 2. He's won here previously. Of course, it's our first season of the GT Summer Series, so it is the first time he will step to the top of the podium in the GT Summer Series at this particular venue, having already claimed a win at Hockenheim at our previous round. Herman Speck in his Porsche 992 GT3R with a really solid second place, and I'm sure that the learnings from that race will perhaps influence even better things from the DB Motorsport driver going into races 2 and 3 of the day, or of the weekend, here at Oschersleben. Sunday morning, we have another 30-minute sprint race, followed by a 50-minute pit stop race. That is race number 3. Thomas Verstappen then winning by 6.1 seconds over Herman Speck. In the Cup 2 class, the Porsche 992 GT3 Cup of Mike Janza takes third overall ahead of Marco Reinbold in 4th and Urs Frick in 5th place aboard the number 69 SA Performance car. Igor Klyer 4th in class and 6th overall ahead of Maximilian Schreier, the first the GT4's home, but GT4 AM winner Tobias Erdmann was right there with him in 8th place. Alexander Danza takes P9 for WNS Motorsport and 2nd in GT4 AM, and he was classified ahead of Josef Kluber of Equip Vitesse, who unfortunately had a visit to the pits right at the end of the race there. Bertold Grund takes 11th overall in his GT3 spec Audi, and Tristan Geschwendner at the back of the field after a visit to the pit lane, unfortunately for the youngster. But Tristan on this incredible journey, the early stages of his racing career, going from sim into real life competition. And we'll see more from him, more progress from him, I'm sure, as the summer series continues on, and indeed as this weekend continues on. As we've alluded to, 2 more races for him to get to grips with things. The GT Summer Series Heroes Arena down there that we just saw on screen. And of course, Izzy will be with our top 3 drivers in just a few moments. So the drivers making their way down there now, but yes, we will hear from them, of course, very shortly. Izzy and our crew down there will endeavour to catch the drivers as quickly as possible, but they can be elusive beasts, racing drivers. We will hear from them as we see there Thomas Verstappen's number 45 machine being pushed to its rightful position in front of the P1 board. And I'm sure he will have a big smile on his face after that race. It was standard procedures, really, for the CCS racing competitor. And we'll see him out again in the morning. He'll be starting from pole position again for race number 2. But we'll see if Hermann Speck can rally at all to try and take the fight to him. A good start and perhaps a lead into the first corners would certainly do Hermann Speck a wonder of good in an effort to try and win a race this weekend. And Izzy there talking to Mike Janza, directing traffic ahead of the interviews. And hopefully we will grab Thomas Verstappen here very shortly. You see there Hermann Speck, 4DB Motorsports, giving a thumbs up and liking his drive. I think he seemed to rather enjoy that one based on his body language. Thomas Verstappen there on the P1 position though, and we should be hearing from him in just a few moments' time. There is Verstappen. We see him just hydrating after that race. They have air conditioning, these cars. They are fairly comfy compared to some other race cars, but GT3s are still very physical and very demanding. Let's now go down to Izzy Browning. She is with Thomas Verstappen, our race winner.
Okay, well, I do indeed have our winner alongside me, Thomas Verstappen, championship leader, a winner once again. You looked so confident around here. There's something about this track that you seem to get on with very well.
Yes, the race was for me very easy, but I missed a little bit the competition. I hope the next races are a little bit exciting.
Were you taking it easy at the start? Because it kind of seemed like Hermann managed to stay with you at the beginning, and then just as the race went on, you seemed to be putting in faster and faster laps.
Yes, I was faster and faster, and at the beginning I don't see where Hermann is, and yeah, so I drive the race to the finish, and I'm happy.
Yeah, as you should be. I mean, it was a very, very good start to the weekend. As you say, though, in some ways, it's a bit lonely out front. You kind of not got too many people around you, and you want that competition, don't you?
Yeah, it was a little bit lonely, yes.
Well, congratulations anyway. Well done, our winner once again. I am going to just dash over and go and speak to Hermann, because it was a great race for Hermann. I'm going to interrupt him though. He's just talking to Robin Selbach, but I have to come and have a chat with you. P2, I mean, great job. At the start, we thought that you might be trying to go for the lead. You had a great start.
I had a fantastic start, and I was trying to, but there wasn't enough room. it would have sort of probably ended up in a chaos because he was right next to me, and over the distance I knew he was just a touch faster, so there was no point in sort of squeezing it, through, and then after 5-6 laps he's overtaking me again. But it was a great race. I had him in front of me like a carrot. You get a donkey to run forever if you have a carrot for it. So no, that was great. I enjoyed it.
Well,
got my car, got to know my car better now.
Exactly what I was going to say. New car, you wouldn't really know it because towards the end you could tell that you were just getting more and more confident because those laps were coming in and the gap was actually starting to come down again.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I sort of got the flow from the track, and I got more confidence in the car, when you do the cornering, and it felt really, really great. If I do some qualifying now, it's probably going to be a second faster.
Well, you never know. I mean, the rest of the weekend, that confidence is going to keep coming, isn't it?
Yes.
For 2 more races tomorrow, 2 more opportunities.
Absolutely. Opportunities, yes, it's going to be difficult, but hey, we're here to try. So yes, I'm looking forward to the 2 races. I've got the confidence of the car and the track, and I really enjoyed the last 15 minutes.
As you should have done. We were really impressed. I mean, you'll have to go and watch it back because the commentators were discussing your performance and they were very complimentary, as they should be. Enjoy tomorrow and enjoy at the podium. Right, we do have Mike Janser as well. Getting my steps in today down here, but of course he did come P3 overall. He's just having a chat, but I am going to interrupt the chat. Well, P3 overall and the class win, which is what you said you wanted. Fantastic job out there. How was it?
Good, thank you very much. Yeah, it was fun. It's great to win.
Yeah, I mean, only your 4th ever racing weekend as well, according to our commentators. You did a great job in Hockenheim. Now to come here and start the weekend like this, how much confidence are you taking through every lap now?
Wat zei dat?
Just a quick translation.
Sorry. Yeah, good. Well.
Yeah. He's very confident nowadays.
He's feeling very confident nowadays. We're just having a translation on camera.
Not so good.
Also, it's good. He's getting better every single race. He's absolutely doing a great job. He's improving every day. So he's the man.
And that's exactly what we want, improving every day. Congratulations, very well done. Enjoy the podium, which will be coming your way shortly.
So that was a quick highlight reel there of some of the action in that race. Race 1 of the weekend in the GT Summer Series is in the books, and I'm sure the drivers will be eager to celebrate the podiums. Of course, class podiums in this series, so we'll see all of the top contenders from the categories celebrating and being celebrated out there, and that is well-deserved plaudits for our drivers each and every time. That's one of the philosophies being carried over from the summer series, from the winter series into the summer series, to make sure that everybody has something to fight for in their class and that their achievements are celebrated appropriately. Great to see so much exciting metal down there on the grid, and that is only going to improve. That Heroes Arena is only going to get more full as the season goes on. We're expecting quite the jump in entries for the Hockenheim Ring in a month's time, and then of course after our summer break we go to Spa-Francorchamps, and that is always a headline destination for any racing series. Even some people from my neck of the woods are considering coming out to play from the UK across the channel to join us at Spa-Francorchamps in peak summertime at the end of August, from the 28th to 30th of August this year. And then, of course, we go back to where it all started at Hockenheim for the season finale. And we're expecting really interesting additions to the grid for those last 3 rounds of the season. But we're certainly seeing the tales of the tape developing, the contenders emerging in all of these classes, and indeed in the overall championship. It really is tough to predict at this juncture whether the GT3 class or the Cup 2 class will be the class that produces the eventual champion here in the inaugural season of the GT Summer Series. Both classes are well supported, and that therefore means that you get more points within the class to go towards your overall championship battle. The more competition you have, the bigger your points haul at the end of each race. But with some strong drivers across both categories, that really is a talking point. And indeed, I think Tobias Erdmann and Bernd Scheibel will potentially be knocking on some doors, trying to get some more GT4 cars into the event in order to score some more points in that championship battle for overall honours, because we know that Erdmann and Scheibel are very quick drivers. They've won championships elsewhere with their Audi R8 LMS GT4. They just need to have the competition there to keep scoring big points in the championship fight as the season goes on. As you can see, the podium is there and waiting for our drivers, but the drivers nattering among themselves, debriefing immediately with some of their mechanics and crew members. And certainly we will get those ceremonies underway with our MC, our Master of Ceremonies, that of course being Andy McEwen, in the next couple of minutes or so. They've got to make sure that everybody's trophies are ready to go, and indeed they've got to make sure the people themselves are where they need to be, and that's not always the work of 3 minutes or so. That much is for certain. You see there that new Porsche 992 GT3R of Hermann Speck. What a fabulous car it is. And so that new car is wonderful, and indeed I think we're going to see more and more new cars from regulars in German GT competition in this GT Summer Series as the year progresses. But certainly not a new face on the top step of the podium. Once again, a race winner will be our CCS Racing Audi driver in the form of Thomas Westarp. Ruing perhaps not quite having a battle in that race, but I think in the races to come we are going to see more of a battle as Hermann Speck gets to grips with the car, and indeed some new competition coming in from Nürburgring onwards. We'll see what Sunday brings on Sunday. For now, let's celebrate Saturday with Andy McEwen.
Urs Frick! Well done, Urs, out onto the podium, making his debut in the fully fledged Cup 2 spec car. Second position in Cup 2, Marco Reinbold. Out he comes, his 4th podium after 2 wins last time in the class at Hockenheim. But it's a 2nd win of the season and a 4th appearance on the Cup 2 podium for our class winner, Mike Janser, who gets a big cheer from the crowd in front of the Heroes Arena podium, shakes hands with the other 2 podium finishers and steps on to the top step. We're ready now to get the trophies handed out to our top 3 drivers, and handshakes all round, and big smiles on faces as well for our Cup 2 podium finishers. We expected some close competition in Cup 2, but in the end, Mike Janser able to build a lead and win pretty comfortably in that first race of the weekend. So, photos are taken. I think we're good to go then. The Cup 2 drivers can leave the podium in a moment. A couple more pictures being taken, and together now actually on the top step. It's a big podium, so there's plenty of space for our 3 drivers to gather and pose in the sunshine here at Oschersleben. Congratulations then to our Cup 2 podium finishers. On next
to the GT4 AM category. And we welcome first of all onto the third step of the podium in his first ever race in the category, Tristan Geschwendner. Big round of applause for the East Racing Motorsport debut Tom. The youngster gets a podium on his first attempt. Second position, a third class podium of the season for Alexander Danza. He heads up onto the second step, shakes the hands of Tristan, and we'll welcome now the race winner. It is a third win in GT4 AM for Tobias Erdmann, who was standing over with his team, discussing the way the race had gone. A big smile on his face as he heads onto the top of the podium. Tobias with a fourth podium finish in class from 4 races, and 3 of those times he stood on the top step of the podium. He's absolutely delighted with that result. Shakes hands with the Gedlich representative, takes the trophy as well, hopefully. Hasn't got a trophy, there it is. And Tobias Erdmann celebrates another successful day at the office, and a brilliant battle with Maximilian Schreier actually to be the best of the GT4 cars home in that race. Not quite able to get past the Porsche, but a comfortable win in the GT4 AM category. They gather together again at the top of the podium. Pose with was then for our podium finishers. So the photographers, I think, are going to let the drivers go in a second, maybe, just getting a couple more shots of the drivers on the podium. Yep, you're free to go, guys. And we'll move on now to the GT4 Pro podium. Just the one car entered into the class, but it wasn't an easy drive for our GT4 Pro class winner. Let's welcome to the podium Maximilian Schreier. A race-long battle there with Tobias Erdmann, and was able to keep all of the GT4 cars at bay. He's the only Pro class driver entered this weekend, but at least he was able to have some fun out there battling with the Audi. And number 1 for Maximilian Schreier, who gets the podium all to himself. Congratulations, Maximilian, on a win in GT4 Pro. And now on to our final podium of the afternoon, the GT3 AM category, and in third position in GT3 AM, Josef Kluber. Where is he? Not here, but represented by a team member on the podium. Second position, I'm sure he's going to be keen to get involved in the celebrations. Best finish of the season for Hermann Speck. Who shows a lot of energy as he runs onto the podium, the second step of the podium for Hermann, and that is his second podium finish of the season. The race win, though, for the third time in the GT3 AM category this year goes to our championship leader, Thomas Fechner. And he's going to head very calmly up onto the top step of the podium in comparison to Hermann, but they're all very happy to be there. Josef Kluber not able to make it onto the podium, but will, I'm sure, be delivered his trophy in a moment or two. Keep the test celebrating, but the big celebrations for the CCS racing team, who are victorious in GT Summer Series once more. A second overall win as well for Thomas, but a third crucially in the class, and that's what matters for the points. I think the happiest man on the podium, though, might be the man occupying the second step of the podium, as Hermann Speck, I think, is enjoying his new Porsche here this afternoon. The last set of photographs taken then, and that will in a moment conclude our opening podium of the weekend. Round of applause, everyone, for our podium drivers. So that concludes our opening stanza here this weekend at Oschersleben. Izzy Browning and Adam Weller joining me down here. I was going to say in the sunshine, it's clouded over, but hey, by English standards, this is still a pleasant afternoon.
Yeah, and it has been a pleasant afternoon on the track as well. I mean, I really enjoyed that one, I have to be honest. Like, just seeing some of the characters developing in the paddock, but also not only developing as we get to know them better, but out on the track as well. I mean, a word on Hermann Speck, he's been fantastic.
He has been, yeah. It's not easy learning a new car, kind of taking it out of the metaphorical bubble wrap and immediately being on the pace. But it was a point we made during the race on commentary, is that not only was he not far off Thomas's ultimate pace, but he was there consistently as well. It could be all too easy to misjudge things and expect the car to do one thing and forget that, oh wait, no, I'm in a new one, it's all a bit different. he did a great job. He's adapted to it very nicely. And yes, I think eventually we are going to start underestimating him and he's going to start exceeding our expectations even more so.
Yeah, and do you know what? He's bringing the vibes as well, isn't he?
Yes.
Because he is the happiest person in our paddock and we absolutely love having him here. I mean, Andy, we've got 2 more races tomorrow to look forward to, and I think that one's given us quite a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, I think so, and I think actually tomorrow's races should be even more exciting. You know, we were bigging up that Cup 2 battle, but because of the way the first couple of corners shook out, that wasn't quite as close as it could be. The lap times, they were still very evenly matched, so I think tomorrow we'll see that battle start to hit fever pitch, and yeah, Thomas Vestart won't want to stop winning, will he? But I think you know, Hermann Speck had his nose ahead of him into the first corner. I think if it wasn't a brand new shiny Porsche that he was in, he might have had a real go, and later in the weekend maybe he would have made a different decision. So looking forward to tomorrow. The pit stop race always throws a slightly different little concoction at us, and yeah, who knows what the weather will do tomorrow as well. There is talk of a little bit of rain in the area on Sunday, and that could throw a real spanner in the works.
It certainly could, although having said that, actually, with regard to the battle with Thomas and Hermann that we might expect, he actually did say to me, Thomas, in the interview just after the race, that he actually wants Hermann to kind of close up and give them a bit of a battle so that it's perhaps not so lonely for him. We'll see if that happens tomorrow and over the rest of the season.
I don't think he's going to be antisocial for too much longer. Having seen the entry list for Nürburgring, looking ahead beyond tomorrow, and indeed some of the cars that are going to join the back half of this season, I think he's going to have some work to do. And again, Hermann by race 3, I don't know. I think he's going to be right there.
Well, all that to look forward to later in the season, and 2 more races tomorrow coming your way. Join us then. We'll see you around about 11 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Give me this life so sweet.